Hi, it's Teresa from Dodge, and time for another Nature to Go.
So in the end of October, we did an episode all about skulls. And some of you asked, well, what were the animals whose skulls we were showing you? And that's what this episode is going to let you see today. You'll see the skull, we'll show you what the animal is that the skull came from, and then we'll throw in some interesting fact about the animals as well. Are you ready?
Skull A is a big skull, 10 inches long. And when you looked at those teeth that were in there, what this told you is this is the skull from a black bear. Minnesota has between 12,000 and 15,000 black bears that live here, but they mostly live in the northern third of the state. Once in a while, a young one wanders into the Twin Cities area, but it's not very common. Skull B is almost as long as the black bear skull, but the molars show that this is an animal that is much more of a carnivore, much less of an omnivore. This is from a wolf. According to the International Wolf Center, when you bite down as a human, you have about 120 pounds of pressure that you're exerting per square inch. But if you're a wolf, you're able to exert 400 pounds of pressure per square inch. Skull C looks a lot like Skull B, but it's a little bit shorter, and that's because this is a coyote skull. Now, we have quite a few coyotes around us here in the Twin Cities area because they're actually quite comfortable being around humans. Interesting fact about coyotes: when they're chasing prey or fleeing danger, they can run up to 40 miles an hour. Now, they can't do it for a long time, but they can really put on the speed when they need to. Skull D is a little different. It's shorter, and notice those orange teeth? That's the clue. This is a skull from a beaver. Beavers have their own day. Yes, that's right. April 7th is International Beaver Day. Here in Minnesota, we can be watching beavers being active all year round. One of the neat things about them, they can stay underwater for between 6 and 8 minutes. Pretty impressive. All right, as you look at Skull E, probably you noticed right away it has a very short nose, but it has big eyes. This is a bobcat. It's not hunting by smelling, it's looking at where it's going. One of the really neat things about bobcats, that they can jump over 10 feet in one leap. Skull F is an animal that we have around us in the cities all the time. This is a raccoon. Now, raccoons are really good swimmers, but the other thing they're great at is climbing. In fact, you might remember back in June of 2018, there was a raccoon who climbed a St. Paul skyscraper. It climbed 25 stories before it was captured and released back into the wild. Amazing. All right, Skull G. Notice it's got fairly short nose, big eyes. This, my friends, is a river otter. River otters are really fun animals to watch, really doing neat things. And if you want to see a really large otter, go to the town of Fergus Falls, Minnesota, where you can see Otto the otter, 40 feet long, 15 feet tall, built by high school students in 1972 as part of the city's centennial celebration. This is letter H. It's a small skull, and this actually belongs to a cottontail rabbit. Now, sometimes with a skull, you don't really have to look at much at all in order to recognize what animal it came from. And on rabbit skulls, the nose, the rostrum area, is full of all of these little hollow areas. It's called fenestration, and it has something to do with how the animal is biting. You see that? You can recognize right away you're looking at a rabbit skull. Skull I is only 2.5 inches long, but as you look at it, you'll notice it has long canines and it has really sharp molars. This is a carnivore. This, in fact, is a mink, a member of the weasel family. Now, we tend to think of them as being a little bit more aggressive, but something that scientists have learned is that mink will purr when they're content or happy. And our last skull, letter J, is a short one, 2.25 inches long, so it's from a small animal. This is from a gray squirrel. Gray squirrels are very entertaining. They're very acrobatic. And here are some shots from a trail camera we had set up near some bird feeders this past winter. Enjoy these pictures of the squirrels.
How'd you do? Did you guess some of the skulls correctly? That's great. Skulls are fascinating, and you can always learn so much just by looking at them and by looking for them when you're out exploring as well. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Nature to Go, and we'll talk to you again next time.